Hi. This is the season called Lent. It is a time to be reflective and repentive as we consider and are thankful for the cross and the resurrection. Yet, it's a time that is filled with confusion and other religious fanfare like Easter bunnies and giving up candy for 6 weeks and things like that. I think that the really sad part of this season is that whether it be on television, Christian television, or in the church itself, you are really not going to hear about the resurrection. And when you do hear about it, it's going to be quite spiritualized. You know, people are going to say things like, this is time for a renewal. All things becoming new. And it's the beginning of things, the end of some seasons, and the beginning of other seasons. You're going to hear people do things like the 7 last words of Jesus from the cross. And they're going to have services about that, with each preacher trying to outdo the rest of them and be the star of that presentation. And within it all, you are not going to hear anything really about the resurrection. I was born again in this season. It was a Monday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, March the 29th, 1977. And believe it or not, I had never been to church but one time. And when I went in, I didn't stay. They ran me up out of there with all that. It was just too much for me. All that shouting and stuff. I was like, it was too much. And I ran out. You know. They grabbed me as I was trying to go, wanting to write my name down in a book, assigning me to a class. You know, I remember mother, you're on my class. And, you know, all I was trying to do when I got up was go to the bathroom. And they saw I rose up at the wrong time, and they assumed that when I rose, I was trying to join the church. But I really did not know the magnitude of this problem until I began to do what I call deliverance counseling by phone, and got exposed to people, churchgoers in particular, around the world. And it's the same everywhere. People do not understand what the resurrection of Jesus Christ of Nazareth was all about. And they'll use words like, he rose, he is risen. And I say, explain that to me. And they'll find another way to say it, But always the word rise or risen is in it. And then when I go deeper, I find they don't even understand what they mean when they say that. And this is the problem. This is the great falling away. You came to church hoping to be saved, and you got flim-flammed, you got bamboozled, run amok, scammed. Your pocketbook got picked. Your pocket got fleeced. And you spent a lot of money on outfits and suits and whatnot. You got your hair done, or did, however you want to say it, and you got ripped off. Because I want to tell you something. Unless you believe on the resurrection, Paul says in that word, you are not saved. You are not born again. Your faith is vain, and you are still in your sins. That's 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians 15, verse 17. That's how important the resurrection of Jesus Christ is. And yet here you got, it doesn't matter who it is, which denomination it is, which non-denomination it is. Nobody is talking about it. The world presents movies about it. That's how I knew what it was. That's how 36 years ago this month I realized, and I'd already known what and understood the resurrection without going to church. It was because I saw some movies and I understood that this was not a spiritualized thing. That a man who is God was put on a cross and took my debt, my place, took the punishment that was meant for me, so that I would no longer be separated from his Father. He became separated from his Father briefly for me. That was like an eternity to Jesus. He suffered the most from that and not from those lashes. But he became sin that the righteousness of God might come upon me. And then he died. But it didn't end there. He died and he came back to life in the same body he died in. And he ascended to heaven in the same body he died in. A glorified body is not a spirit. A glorified body is a body that was dead, came back to life, and never will be able to die again. Eternal. Immortal. That's glorious. And you've been bamboozled and run them up if you don't understand that. Because if you don't understand that, honey, you ain't saved. You're not born again. And that, my watches, is the great falling away. The falling away is not falling away from the church, the organized church. Those who have fallen away are still in the organized church, and they're worshiping God without the resurrection. And guess what? They are still in their sins from the pulpit to the pew.